Ratios and unit rates. A ratio compares two quantities by division, and it can be written three different ways. One way is using the word 2, for instance, 5 to 4. Another way is to use a colon, so 5:4. Or the third way, we could write it as a fraction, so 5/4. All three ways represent a ratio. Make sure your ratios are ordered correctly. You don't want them to be out of order because that means something totally different. So order matters. And for example, 2 to 3 is not the same. It's not telling me the same thing as 3 to 2. And I think you would agree that doing 2 chores for $3 is not the same as doing 3 chores for $2. So these represent different items. And you always want to simplify ratios, unless you need to express the actual amounts. So most of the time, if not always, we're going to be simplifying our ratios. So we simplify and we remember to enjoy life. And that brings us to our next question. So I surveyed my Math 1 class, and we were talking about shoveling snow. So the survey from my Math 1 class came up with this. The question was, how many of you have shoveled snow? So that's the title to our little table here. Shoveling snow. And our responses and our numbers were like this. Those who have shoveled tallied up to about 4. And those who have not shoveled tallied up to about 14. So looking at this, if I asked you how many students were in my class, well, they either have shoveled or have not shoveled, so we could just add those up to find our total. So 4 plus 14 gives us 18 for the total who were surveyed. Now we're going to write these ratios as fractions in simplest form. Remember I said we almost always want to simplify our ratios. So our first question, question 1, from the table, we want to compare the students who have shoveled to, and that's our key word, that tells us it's a ratio, the word to. So have shoveled to the students who have not shoveled. So those who have shoveled to those who have not shoveled. And order matters. So those who have shoveled would be represented by the number 4. So I'm going to write 4 first. And then those who have not shoveled is represented by the number 14. So I would have 4 over 14. I can write that as a fraction. And then I want to divide by my common factor, which is 2. And that gives me 2/7. So that's one of my answers. I wrote it as a fraction. Let's go ahead and write this one all three ways. Normally you can just write it one way, but we're just practicing. So 2/7 is one way. I can write it 2:7, or I can use the words, or word, 2. So 2/7. And all of those mean the same thing. So all three of those are correct answers. And any one would be accepted as a ratio. Are you surprised by that? And as you might have imagined, the 4 who have shoveled, it wasn't in Wilmington. They lived up north. All right, let's try another one. So, all students surveyed to those who have not shoveled. So reading our table, all students surveyed would be 18. That's our total. So I'd write 18 down over, and then it says those who have not shoveled. Well, that's right up here in my table, and that's 14. So I'm going to write it over 14. And if I divide by my common factor of 2, that gives me 9/7. And again, I can write that any of those three ways. I could have write it 9:7, 9/2/7, or 9/7. And yes, it's okay. You don't want to make that a mixed number, because this is saying for every 9 people surveyed, 7 of them will not have been shoveled. If you make that a mixed number, it's not going to make any sense, because then that reads 2/7, which is not the case. So no mixed numbers. No mixed numbers. All right, we've talked about ratios. Let's talk about rates. A rate is just a ratio. It's a special type of ratio, one that has two different units. For instance, dollars and pounds, miles and hours. And then unit rate is a very useful type of rate. And unit rate is a rate that has a denominator of 1. And we use these all the time. Next time you go into a grocery store, they've probably already done this for you. Just check the label on whatever you're wanting to buy, and it probably has in real fine print next to the price the actual unit rate, or how much it costs per ounce or per pound or whatever the quantity is. In fact, that's how produce is sold. Like apples might be $2.89 per pound. Oranges might be $3.29 per pound, but they're advertised using unit rates. And let's do an example with unit rate. Unit rate would be, let's say we purchased some apples we were charged $5.32 for 2.2 pounds of apples. And that begs the question, how much does it cost per pound? Well, all we do is divide by the denominator to both the top number and the bottom number. So if I divide this by 2.2, I know it's going to be 1. If I divide the top number by 2.2, I get about 2.42. And don't forget, when we're showing this, we want to put the units down. So it's $2.42 per 1 pound. And that's our unit rate. So we wanted to divide, and then we want to write the units. And we could have, I just like to show it this way to show that that denominator is 1. But really, the unit rate, all you have to do is do 532 divided by 2.2. And that would give us $2.42. But showing it this way reminds you the denominator is always going to be 1. And the nice thing is we can compare using unit rate. So those apples were $2.42 per pound. If I had another ratio here, let's say I had a, let's say $6.48 for 2.5 pounds of apples, which one is the better deal? Well, just finding that unit rate is going to help me compare them. So we'll see if 242 is a better deal or if whatever this is a better deal. So let's divide by the denominator, the 2.5. That makes the denominator 1. Divide by 2.5 here. You can use a calculator. And we get 2.59 about. $2.59 per 1 pound. And notice I use the word per. That fraction bar indicates the word per. $2.59 per 1 pound. So that's this unit rate. So if we were comparing them, I would say the better deal is the cheaper one. So the better deal is the lower price. Which would of course be the first one. So the better deal is the lower price, and $2.42 is less than $2.59. So you're getting a cheaper price here. So if these are the same apples, definitely get it from this place. And if you haven't tried a McIntosh apple, go try one. They're delicious. All right, our last topic, let's talk about converting units. And when we convert units, we use unit rate. So for example, if I wanted to know how much 2.5 quarts per minute if I wanted to convert that into gallons per hour, the first thing I would do is write what I'm given. So 2.5 quarts, or write what I know, over 1 minute. So I just wrote that given information as a fraction. And then I want to convert my quarts into gallons, so I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to multiply. And what connects quarts and gallons? We all know the gallon man, so looking at the gallon man, there's 4 quarts for every 1 gallon. So since there's 4 quarts per gallon, I want to cancel my quarts. So the 4 quarts goes on the bottom, and then I have 1 gallon on top. So see, this is my unit rate, and yeah, I know what you're saying, the denominator is not 1, but it's not always going to work out where you write it with 1 on the bottom, because you want to cancel the quarts in this case. So that quart's on the top, so I need to cancel this quart on the bottom. And then now I have gallons per minute is what I currently have. And think about what I want to have. I want to have gallons per hour. So I need to convert this minutes into hours. So what connects minutes to hours? 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So now I'm going to cancel my minutes and my minutes because they're one's on the top, one's on the bottom. And I can actually take this a bit further. 4 and 60 have a common factor of 2. 2 will go into 4 twice. 2 will go into 60 30 times. And actually, they're still even, so 2 will go into 2 once. 2 will go into 30 15 times. And now I've made it a little easier on myself. So I'm just doing 15 times 2.5 because I multiply across. So 2.5 times 1 times 15 over 1 times 1 times 1. And I multiply those out, I get 337.5. And look at my top units. Gallons are on top, hours are on the bottom. So 37.5 gallons over 1 hour. And the main thing to remember there is top and bottom units cancel. All right, convert away.